After a long separation, the narcissist's thoughts are rarely about closure or peace. Instead, their mind loops around the same question: do I still have control? They wonder if you're still hurting, still checking for their messages, still stuck in their shadow. For them, separation doesn't mean release, it means curiosity mixed with fear. The idea that you might have healed unsettles them, because it means their power over you has started to fade. At first, they convince themselves you miss them desperately. They imagine you lying awake, replaying every memory, longing for their return. This fantasy comforts them, because it keeps their ego intact. They don't see the separation as a loss, they see it as a pause where you're waiting for them to reappear. This illusion protects them from facing the truth, that life moves on, and you may be learning how to breathe without them. But as time passes, doubt creeps in. They start to wonder, what if they've forgotten me? This thought gnaws at them, because it challenges the belief that they're unforgettable. Narcissists survive on the idea that no one ever fully escapes their orbit. So when enough time passes, the silence becomes uncomfortable. They wonder if you've built a new life, if someone else has replaced them, and if their memory is no longer powerful in your mind. Their pride tells them, they'll never find anyone better than me. But another voice whispers fear, what if they already have? That contradiction keeps them restless. On one hand, they reassure themselves of superiority. On the other, they dread the thought of you smiling with someone else. This duality drives much of their thinking after separation. They flip between arrogance and insecurity, unable to settle, because your freedom represents the ultimate threat to their ego. The narcissist also wonders if you still talk about them. They imagine being the main character in your conversations, your stories, your regrets. They hope you still mention them with emotion, even if it's anger. To them, attention of any kind is still power. Silence, however, terrifies them. If you no longer speak of them, it means they've lost influence. That's why they sometimes resurface suddenly, to test if their name still carries weight in your life. They replay the relationship in their mind, but not with honesty. They filter it through self-serving memories. They think about the good moments, the times you forgave them, the times you bent over backward to please them. These memories reassure them that if they wanted, they could slip back into your life. They ignore the pain they caused because accountability doesn't serve their ego. Instead, they choose selective memory, rewriting the past to keep themselves comfortable. Over time, curiosity shifts into obsession. They might check your social media, scroll through old photos, or ask mutual friends about you. They're not looking for your happiness, they're searching for cracks. Did you post something sad? Did you hint at loneliness? Any sign of weakness gives them hope that you still belong to them. Their thoughts are less about love, more about possession. To them, you're not a person to miss, you're a resource to reclaim. If they discover you're thriving, the narcissist's thoughts turn bitter. They ask themselves, how can they be happy without me? Instead of celebrating your growth, they stew in resentment. Your peace feels like betrayal. It proves they never had the control they imagined. This realization is unbearable, so they may convince themselves your happiness is fake. They assume you're just pretending, because the idea of your authentic joy is too painful for their pride to accept. At night, their thoughts grow darker. They replay arguments, not with regret, but with fantasies of what they would say now. They imagine conversations where they win, where you apologize, where they come out superior. These mental battles aren't about closure, they're about control. Even in imagination, they need to dominate. Separation doesn't stop the game in their mind. It simply moves the battlefield inward, where they can twist reality to fit their fragile narrative. Some narcissists wonder if they should reach out. They debate sending a message, liking a post, or pretending to bump into you. Their thoughts spiral with what-ifs. What if you reject them? What if you ignore them? What if you welcome them back? This indecision often paralyzes them. They crave your attention but fear rejection. In their mind, reaching out risks exposing the truth, that you no longer need them. That fear keeps them restless. After long separation, the narcissist may also feel entitled. They think, no matter how much time passes, I can always come back. This belief is rooted in their arrogance. They don't see relationships as mutual. They see them as contracts they can resume at will, so they assume your door remains open, waiting for them, even if they never act on it. This entitlement colors their thinking, keeping them convinced they still have access to your life. But deep inside, insecurity grows. They wonder if you're telling people the truth about them. Did you share the abuse, the lies, the manipulation? The idea of being exposed eats at them. Their image means everything, so they hope your silence continues. This fear of exposure often fuels smear campaigns. Even after separation, they may still talk badly about you, trying to control the narrative. Their thoughts revolve around reputation, not remorse, showing their true priorities. When they imagine you moving on, jealousy takes over. They picture you laughing with someone else, building a life that doesn't include them. To the narcissist, this isn't just loss, it's humiliation. They believe they should always be the center of your universe. The thought that you've replaced them is unbearable. Their jealousy isn't love, it's possession. They don't want you happy, they want you attached. In their mind, your joy without them is their deepest wound. Sometimes, they console themselves with fantasies of your return. They imagine you calling, apologizing, begging for another chance. These daydreams feed their ego, allowing them to avoid reality. They don't reflect on how they hurt you. They imagine a script where you crawl back. It's easier for them to believe in fantasy than face the truth, that you've grown stronger. These thoughts show their fragility. They would rather live in illusions than confront the consequences of their actions. Their pride often masks regret. They won't admit it openly, but part of them wonders, did I lose something irreplaceable? They sense your empathy, your patience, your love were rare. But instead of valuing it, they twist the regret into anger. They blame you for leaving, for changing, for refusing to return. This deflection protects them from accountability. Deep down, though, they know they wasted something precious, and that realization lingers in their private thoughts. If they see you thriving, their mind races to sabotage. They wonder how to reinsert themselves through charm, guilt, or drama. They think, how can I make them remember me? This isn't love, it's strategy. They want to remind you of their presence, even if it means causing chaos. Their thoughts are not about reconciliation, but about re-establishing power. For them, separation is not the end. It's an unfinished game. They're desperate to restart on their terms. Even if they don't reach out, they often monitor you from afar. They check updates, search your name, or linger in spaces you might appear. Their thoughts revolve around information. How much they know about you equals how much power they believe they hold. This obsession reveals dependency. Without knowledge of your life, they feel powerless. So their mind keeps returning, scanning for clues, desperate for signs that you're still within their reach, even after time has passed. When you're silent, they wonder what you're hiding. They assume silence means plotting, not peace. Narcissists struggle to understand quiet healing, so they misinterpret it as strategy. Their paranoia fills the silence with stories. You're against them, you're spreading rumors, you're secretly waiting. These thoughts reflect their projection. Because they operate in manipulation, they assume you must too. The idea that you're simply living without them doesn't compute, because it destroys their illusion of importance. Narcissists also think about timing. They wonder, is now the right moment to reappear? They consider anniversaries, birthdays, or vulnerable moments as openings. Their thoughts are strategic, not sentimental. They don't want to reconnect because they miss you. They want to re-enter when you're most likely to let them back. Every calculation is about maximizing control. After long separation, their mind is less about missing you and more about figuring out when to strike again. At their core, narcissists fear being forgotten. They think about legacy, whether they left a mark on you, whether their name still triggers emotion. Their thoughts loop around the idea of permanence. If you've erased them from your heart, it feels like death to their ego. They need to believe they're unforgettable. That's why after long separation, their thoughts return to you, not because of love, but because your silence threatens the illusion that they matter endlessly. Over time, they begin to romanticize the past. They remember the way you listened, the way you cared, the way you forgave, but instead of gratitude, their thoughts twist into entitlement. They don't think, "I was lucky to have that." They think, "I can always get that again." This mindset keeps them from appreciating what they lost. To the narcissist, your empathy becomes property, something they assume will always be waiting if they decide to return. When they see you glowing without them, insecurity explodes. They may tell themselves, "They're only pretending." Narcissists struggle to accept that you found real happiness after them. In their mind, they were the best you could do. So your peace contradicts their belief system. Their thoughts spiral. If they're happy without me, what does that say about me? This question haunts them because it forces them to face the truth of their irrelevance. Some narcissists retreat into denial. They convince themselves you still care, even if all evidence points otherwise. They twist silence into longing, independence into hidden love. This false narrative soothes them, but it's fragile. Deep down, they know the truth is different. That's why denial requires constant reinforcement. They replay selective memories, ignore your progress, and tell themselves stories that keep their ego intact. But in quiet moments, the truth still slips through. At night, their loneliness is loudest. They may have new partners or distractions, but none fill the void. They compare everyone to you, even while pretending superiority. Their thoughts become restless. Why can't I find that same connection again? The irony is, they had it and destroyed it. But accountability doesn't enter their mind. Instead, they blame you for leaving or for being too demanding. Their thoughts protect their pride, even as loneliness eats away inside. The narcissist also wonders how much you've changed. They imagine you looking stronger, more confident, more alive. And though they won't admit it, this thought stings. They wanted you frozen in time, stuck in the pain they left behind. Seeing you evolve proves they failed to break you. Their thoughts twist this into resentment. They're only strong because of me. They try to claim credit for your growth, even as it highlights their failure. Jealousy of your new life drives many of their thoughts. If you travel, succeed, or celebrate, they wonder why they're not part of it. To them, your joy feels like theft. They believe they should always be at the center of your world. When you build happiness without them, they feel replaced. This jealousy isn't about missing you, it's about losing status. Their thoughts circle around one bitter question: how dare they live well without me? If you've cut contact, they think about breaking it. They fantasize about sending a message, showing up, or using a mutual friend to reconnect. They debate how you might respond. Would you ignore them, welcome them, rage at them? This internal debate keeps you alive in their mind. They crave reassurance that they still matter, but reaching out risks rejection, so they often hold back. Their silence isn't peace, it's hesitation fueled by fragile pride. Narcissists also worry about being exposed. They know what they did, even if they deny it. They wonder if you've told others, if your story has spread, if their mask has cracked beyond repair. Reputation is their lifeline, so after long separation, much of their thinking centers on image management. They may smear your name preemptively, just in case. These thoughts reveal their fear, not of losing you, but of losing the illusion of perfection they show the world. Sometimes they imagine you struggling without them. They think you're lost, lonely, or searching for closure. These thoughts bring them comfort, because they reinforce the illusion of superiority. But the danger of illusion is fragility. The moment they see evidence of your strength, their comfort shatters. Their thoughts swing wildly between arrogance and insecurity, unable to rest. They're stuck in a cycle, hoping you're broken, fearing you're thriving, and never truly accepting reality. Their thoughts often circle back to one central idea: ownership. They see you not as a partner from the past, but as something that still belongs to them. This distorted view fuels their entitlement. Even after years apart, they think they should still have access to your life. They don't recognize separation as an ending. They see it as a pause. In their mind, you remain part of their story, whether you've moved on or not. When they sense you've healed, their thoughts turn darker. They may plot ways to test your boundaries, to see if they can still spark a reaction. They imagine scenarios where you stumble back into their trap, but these fantasies also expose their fear that the door is closed forever. Their obsession with testing proves they can't let go. Even when separated, their thoughts are chained to you because your silence challenges the very core of their identity. They also compare themselves to whoever is in your life now. If you've met someone new, they wonder how they measure up. They assume they're superior, but doubt lingers. The thought of being replaced is intolerable. Even if they have moved on with someone else, their ego can't accept the idea of you finding better. Their thoughts become a competition, even if you're not playing. To them, love is not about connection, it's about winning. Sometimes, they retreat into fantasy of reconciliation. They picture a dramatic reunion, where you embrace them and declare you've missed them. These fantasies are self-soothing stories, like a movie playing in their mind, but they're not rooted in reality. The truth that you may never want them back haunts them, so they escape into imagination, where they're always adored, forgiven, and central. These fantasies reveal not love, but the desperate need to remain significant in your world. Their pride keeps them from admitting pain, but it doesn't erase it. When they think of you, the ache is real. They miss the comfort, the attention, the safety you provided, but instead of calling it loss, they frame it as annoyance. They were too much. They were difficult. These thoughts protect them from vulnerability. Yet the pain lingers beneath the surface. Pride may silence their words, but their restless thoughts betray the truth. They still feel the absence. Narcissists also dwell on the possibility of revenge. They think, one day they'll regret losing me. This fantasy keeps them feeling powerful. They imagine you realizing too late what you had, crawling back in tears. These revenge fantasies soothe their bruised ego, but they're rooted in insecurity. They don't trust the future to prove them right, so they create stories that guarantee their victory. Their thoughts expose the truth. They need revenge to feel important again. If you're silent, they think you're still listening. They assume you're secretly watching, waiting, or decoding their behavior. Silence, in their mind, is never just silence. It's strategy. They can't understand that peace can be genuine. Their thoughts twist your absence into proof of obsession, when in reality, you've simply moved on. This misinterpretation reveals their worldview. Everything is about them. Even your healing becomes a story they spin to keep their ego alive. They also think about opportunities to reappear. They wonder if a future event, a birthday, a crisis, or a moment of weakness will be their chance. Their thoughts are strategic, not emotional. They don't miss you in the way you miss someone you love. They miss the access, the supply, the role you once played. After long separation, these calculations dominate their mind. They're not wondering how you are. They're wondering when they can step back in. The narcissist may also think about punishment. If they feel you've moved on too well, they imagine ways to hurt you through words, through actions, or through reputation. These thoughts are not always acted upon, but they reveal bitterness. To them, your happiness feels like betrayal. Their mind twists healing into insult, making your progress a personal attack. Their thoughts become consumed with the idea of making you pay for thriving without their control. Yet in quieter moments, they wonder if they'll ever find someone like you again. Your empathy, patience, and love were rare. They know it, even if they never admitted it. This thought unsettles them, because it forces a rare moment of honesty. They may try to replace you, but replacements never measure up. Deep down, they know they lost something real. This realization lingers, haunting them in silence, even if they cover it with arrogance. As years pass, nostalgia creeps in. They replay moments of laughter, tenderness, and connection. But instead of cherishing them, they twist the memories into fuel for their ego. See how good I was to them, they tell themselves. They rewrite the past to cast themselves as the hero, ignoring the harm they caused. Their thoughts become a selective history book, where they shine and you are always grateful. This revision comforts them, even as it distorts the truth. Their biggest fear is irrelevance. They think, do they still talk about me? Do they still remember? Irrelevance feels like death to a narcissist. Their thoughts circle endlessly around this fear. They can tolerate being hated, but they cannot tolerate being forgotten. Hate still means energy. Forgetting means freedom. That's why your silence cuts deeper than your anger. The narcissist may never admit it, but the thought of being erased terrifies them most of all. They also wonder if you'll ever break the silence first. They imagine you reaching out, not because they miss you, but because it proves they still matter. In their mind, any contact is victory. Even a short message restores their ego. These thoughts reveal dependency. They crave reassurance like oxygen, and even after long separation, they still hope you'll be the one to provide it. But your silence denies them that fuel, forcing them into restless frustration. When they hear about your growth, their thoughts turn critical. They dismiss your progress as luck, as fake, or as temporary. This criticism protects their pride. Admitting your success means admitting their failure, so their thoughts become defensive, minimizing what you've achieved. But deep inside, envy grows. They know you've done what they can't heal, grow and move on. Their critical thoughts are nothing more than armor against the painful truth of their own stagnation. At times, they think about how easily you forgave them in the past. This memory gives them hope. They believe that no matter how much time has passed, your compassion remains. Their thoughts tell them, if I ever want, I can go back. But what they don't realize is that separation changes empaths. With distance comes wisdom, and forgiveness no longer equals return. Their reliance on your old patterns blinds them to the new strength you've built. Some narcissists think separation makes them mysterious, even more desirable. They believe absence adds value, that you'll crave them more the longer they're gone. This belief soothes their ego, but it's a dangerous illusion. In reality, distance often brings clarity. The longer they're away, the more obvious their manipulation becomes. Their thoughts may frame separation as advantage, but the truth is the opposite. It gives you space to heal and see through the illusion. When you thrive, their thoughts grow conflicted. Part of them wants to claim credit. They're only strong because of me. Another part resents your growth. This contradiction fuels their obsession. They can't accept that your healing is independent. To them, everything must connect back to their influence. Their thoughts spin endlessly, trying to insert themselves into your progress. But your life proves otherwise. Your growth has nothing to do with them, and that truth unsettles them most. They also think about legacy. Narcissists crave lasting impact. They wonder if their name still stirs your heart, if their memory shapes your choices. They want to believe they left an unerasable mark. But their fear whispers, what if I was just a chapter they've closed? That thought is unbearable. So they double down on illusions, convincing themselves they'll always matter. But the more you heal, the less space they occupy, leaving them trapped in their own delusion. In separation, narcissists also think about future opportunities. They don't see endings as final. They wonder, maybe one day circumstances will change. Their thoughts keep the door cracked open, because closure terrifies them. To them, every person remains a potential source of supply. But this isn't about love, it's about access. Their thoughts frame you as a backup plan, proof that their ego will never accept true endings. They live in possibilities, not reality. Ultimately, their thoughts reveal a cycle: denial, jealousy, obsession, fantasy, and fear. They cannot settle, because each stage contradicts the next. One moment they believe you missed them, the next they fear you've erased them. This restless cycle exposes the emptiness they try to hide. Separation doesn't free them, it torments them. Their mind becomes a prison built from questions they can't answer and truths they refuse to face. That is their reality after so long. In the end, what a narcissist is thinking now after long separation isn't love, regret, or growth. It's obsession with control, fear of irrelevance, and envy of your healing. Their thoughts betray their fragility. They may pretend indifference, but silence wounds them more than anger ever could. Meanwhile, your strength speaks louder than their fantasies. Their thoughts may circle endlessly, but your life moves forward. That contrast is the final truth. They remain stuck, while you are free.